if you see something like this, please report it to us because yeah, we would rather help you and say, don't click on that than have to go fight with Facebook. It can be a big pain and it is not something anybody wants to deal with. Today, we are going to be going over three things: account security, where to find where your Facebook is logged into, and then lastly, we will end with a tip of the week. First thing we want to talk about are spam emails. And if you advertise on Facebook, odds are you've probably gotten one of these, at least a few of them. So as soon as we start advertising, that is kind of a big flag for people who are wanting to take our credit card and run ads through our account. They'll go in there, they'll kick us off so we don't have access anymore. They'll kick you off, they'll change all of your information. And it is a huge pain to get this back. So these are a few things that you can look for when you're getting these kind of emails. Usually they will come, actually always, they will come from an email that looks like this. It's super long. This is a Salesforce email. And yeah, it has absolutely no affiliation with Meta. And then you'll usually see some kind of grammatical errors. This one looks to be a little bit better than what we usually see, but usually these will start off with like a hey, hello, darling, something like that. Something Facebook would never ever send you. They will never call you darling, I promise. So that is something that we really want to look out for. It happens occasionally where if you click this link, it basically will give them access to your page, and that's your personal page. And that's why a little bit later, we're going to show you exactly how to go and turn on two-factor authentication, because it is extremely important to know how to do that. Next one, and Ben, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so you'll also notice in a lot of these, basically what they're trying to do is create this sense of urgency. They always have a precedent. Yeah, like notice this message originated somewhere outside of Supreme Lending. Hi dear is the first thing that they open with. Again, Facebook is never going to call a potential user dear. So right off the bat, that's pretty obviously suspicious. But almost every time they'll say, click this or your account will be terminated. They will pretty much always provide a link in the email, which again, it's always better if you are suspicious of an email. If you think Facebook or something is wrong with your account, it's always better to just shoot us an email to make sure. Because most of the time, I mean, we pick up on that stuff sooner. And like with all of these emails, they said your ad has been reported or your account is, we've had ones that said like they've abusing copyright laws, really random issues that they want to get you to click on it and think, oh no, my account is going to get shut down if I don't do this right away, which is just also not how Facebook operates. They're not going to give you a 24-hour ticking clock to get some of these done. So anytime you receive an email that looks a little fishy and is also really urging you to take action as soon as possible, there's a very high chance that it could be spam.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this email is not something that's coming from Facebook. This web address on 24event.com, like, yeah, very clearly spam. But sometimes these can look kind of legit. So this one is got a little more glaring of an issue. User, they'll usually say your first name at least. They're kind of just shotgunning these out to people that they're finding on Facebook. There's no real strategy to it, but sometimes they can look a little more legitimate. This one I think does look maybe a little more legit, but you'll see here even there's space in between. His email address is way off. So again, if you see something like this, please report it to us, because yeah, we would rather help you and say, don't click on that than have to go fight with Facebook. It can be a big pain, and it is not something anybody wants to deal with. So the next thing that we can do to go make sure our account is secure is turn on two-factor authentication and see where we're logged in. So the next thing that we'll do is we'll come up here, and if you haven't done this, it's good to just familiarize yourself with kind of some of the settings in Facebook anyway. We take care of all the advertising, but it's still good to familiarize yourself with some of the back end settings in Facebook just because it changes all the time. It's nice to be a slightly more privy to what's happening just to keep you a lot more secure. So we'll go to settings and privacy, settings again, and then it'll take us to this page. Get my face out of the way, and we'll go to security and login. So there's a few things that we can see here. So two-factor authentication. This is on for me. You can either use your cell phone number, so they'll text you a code, or you can use Google Authenticator. And the only thing I would say about Google Authenticator, I've had this happen myself, is if your phone gets busted or you lose access to that phone, it is sometimes super, super difficult to get your Google Authenticator codes back. So I would actually recommend using your phone number. Google Authenticator, I think, is just a tiny bit more secure, but still just having that on to begin with is super important. And yeah, it's happened to me where my phone was bricked the morning I woke up and I could not get into any Facebook accounts. And as somebody who is very much in the weeds with Facebook on a day-to-day basis, they're kind of like, sorry, can't do anything for you. So eventually I could get them back, but it is a pain. I would definitely recommend using your phone number rather than Google Authenticator. The next thing that you will see is that you can see where you're logged in, which is super cool. I definitely come in here and before I was advertising saw that I was logged in some place I had never been. Luckily, they didn't hack my account, really do anything, but you immediately will want to log them out. Two-factor authentication really makes it so this doesn't happen very often. I would honestly recommend checking on this like once a month or every other week, just to make sure you're not logged in some place that you don't recognize at all, because that could be a telltale sign. That gives them access to your personal page. Also, it gives them access to, your messenger, all that kind of stuff. So no fun at all. And we want to just make sure you're as secure as possible. Again, sometimes if you're in a more rural area, I'm actually logging back in on my phone right now, so we'll see if it shows up. But we are in Missoula, Montana. So I'm logging in right now, and let's see if it pops up. Yep, right there. So now it shows Missoula, Montana. Before it showed Walla Walla, Washington, which is like 8 hours away from us. But if it looks, a little sketchy, it does not hurt as long as you know your Facebook password to log out of it and then have to log back in. It's way better to err on the side of caution when it comes to this than regret not doing that later. So the last thing that we want to go over today is just some content tips of the week. And this is one big tip. Please do not automate your reviews. This is something that we have a lot of people do and they don't perform super well. So your ad spend is going to every single post you put up. If you do want these automated reviews to happen, we can still go in and take a snippet, because usually they're pretty much the same every single time. And we can make it so these aren't boosting. But automated reviews, one, you'll get trolls. Every now and then we'll get somebody that says, who cares, on a review, something like that. And nobody wants those. So these don't do a lot as far as building your brand. And we really want to be talking about other people a lot of the time anyway. So if you're a realtor and you just sold a home, take a picture with your new client in front of their house and say, man, I am so excited to get to pass off the keys to these great new homeowners, and then tag them in that post like we've talked about. But these automated reviews do take up a little bit of your budget. They don't do super well. We really, really, really want to steer people away from doing these. And Ben, yeah, have you had much experience in seeing kind of what these do on the back end?
Yeah, it's not a piece of content that people are really engaged in. I know initially it makes sense that you want to show that people like what you do. But as Christian said, there's turning that into just a customer appreciation post instead, which that content actually does perform well. You can get the same message across, which is people are satisfied with how I work, without just having a static image of a 5-star review and people saying good job. It's definitely better to turn that around into something where you're in your community and taking action with people instead of just saying, look what this person said online.
Yeah, and really what we're trying to do is break trends. So a lot of times, when you go to social media, most people are posting about themselves. And that is something all of us are guilty of. Usually when I post, it is about me. I am doing something and I want people to see it. But that's not really the purpose of business content. So what we're trying to do is highlight others. We talked a lot about educational content. That's for others. We're exciting our fan base with our educational content and adding some value back to our audience. And when you're doing these automated reviews, that's not really doing that. And it doesn't feel super personal. So yeah, if you're selling a home, please go take a picture with your new home buyer in front of that house and say, hey, so stoked these guys got this new home. So excited to pass off the keys to them. Make sure you share it to their personal profile. That is a really, really important thing to do. It builds trust within their community, their group of friends, as well as your own, because people are seeing that, hey, these people had a good experience, and whether they're consciously thinking about it or not, they're telling themselves in the back of their head, I will probably have a good experience with this person too. So whether you're in the mortgage business or you're selling homes directly, highlight others any chance you get. And then one thing you'll always hear Bill say too is you kind of have this superpower with the ability to be in front of a lot of people with Facebook targeting. If you want to go out into your community and highlight businesses around you, that is a really, really great way to build social reciprocity within your community. You're highlighting that business. You're saying, why is this so cool? This is how they started. Tell their story a little bit. This is that whole digital mayor approach. People want to see you as the authority figure within your community. And when you're selling homes, you're selling that house, but you're also selling the community in which you live. That is kind of a long, rambling way to say, please don't post automated reviews. Ben, you got anything else?
One thing with seeing where you're logged in stuff, if you are using Facebook pretty frequently, I do think it's a good idea to stick with either one browser or device as much as possible. Obviously, a computer and a phone is fine. But we've had people, Facebook, if you're logging in on an unrecognized device, unrecognized browser, or say if you're traveling somewhere and you're logging into Facebook from these places, Facebook will view that as suspicious and sometimes can disable your account until you verify something. So as much as possible, I would say try to stick to one device or browser, because if you do that, then you're going to be really well insulated against either account getting disabled or potentially people getting access to your stuff.
Yep, that's a great point. They do see that. They see everything. So make sure you are pretty selective about where you log into your Facebook. Yeah, if you are logging in on a bunch of different browsers all the time, they notice that. Try to keep that at a minimum as much as you possibly can. But yeah, I would say two-factor authentication is really the most important thing you can do. First and foremost, go see where you're logged in if you haven't already. And then, definitely keep those new logins to a minimum. But perfect. So that is our training for today. If you have any requests, recommendations, anything that you want to hear, please email us at info@adtraffic.com, and we'd be very happy to do some more trainings.